So once again, warm welcome to the Courage Catalyst series. I want to say that each session in this series spotlights and interviews one courageous change maker, one courageous leader to share their stories, to share their probably even their advice for how you too can lead yourself and lead others through courage. I am your host, Farah Ismail, and I think I know most of you, but if there's someone here, just want to welcome you for the first time. I'm the founder of Interact Consulting and Coach Farah. So welcome again to the Courage Movement. And my first guest, is Ruben. Ruben, you're my first guest.
All right. So,
yes,
the pressure's on, huh?
No pressure is definitely on.
Now, do you want me to set the bar middle, low, or high, or super high?
We'll ask the group. But first of all, I want to just share my journey of how I met Ruben. So I met Ruben because I was gifted a book called The Courage to Succeed. And it was gifted by my very good friend, you know who that is, Srikant. And when I read the book, I was really touched because for the few years before that, I was doing work in courage. I was unlocking courage in my life as well. And so it really shook my world. And then came the opportunity to meet you. And I met you many times virtually. And what touched me, I want to tell everyone who's here, is just the simplicity and the humility that I experienced. So the moment I met Ruben online, the next day we were connected. And he was sharing, I had showed the book, The Courage to Succeed. And in that moment, he realized I had an older version. So he sent me a chapter that I didn't see before. And that started our journey of getting to know each other. And I shared my book with him. He gave me such brilliant tips from even my first ebook that I wrote. And I just felt so touched by what we have built, created together. And it's my absolute honor and privilege to welcome you, Ruben, especially since it's this early in the morning, right? And before I hand over to Ruben, and just to get us all started, I want to say that if you have watched his TED Talk, I've sent you the link as well. I just want to say that every time I experience Ruben, I wonder why would anybody in his right mind jump onto a sled and hurl himself down an icy slope or mountain at about 80 miles per hour. And at the age of 21, that's what Ruben did. He took up the sport of luge and started training for the Olympics. And 4 years, with a few broken bones after that, Ruben made his Olympic dream come true. But he didn't stop there. And that's what we're going to experience, this unstoppable Olympian who went on to really be part of 4 Olympic Games in 4 decades, and right now is about to make history by being the only Olympian who will participate in his 5th Olympic Games. Fingers crossed. He's going to tell you what's happened recently, and of course, that's why this is so historic for us to actually experience what has led him to have this mastery in the inner game of success, right? And I wanted to say that what is powerful about having Ruben here is if you have any excuses in life, you're going to just drop them. You're going to throw them away.
That's right.
And just be filled with a lot of belief in yourself and inspiration. And if he can do it, each one of us in this room can do it. So I just want to say, get ready to be inspired and go for the gold. And before we go for the gold, I would like to invite you to listen really differently today. I'd like you to listen for the gold. And if you have heard anything before, listen to it like it's for the very first time. And listen to what you don't know as well, not just what you know. So and I'm going to share all the details of how you can get in touch with Ruben, but I'd like to start by welcoming you again, Ruben. Thank you for being here. How are you feeling today?
Voice. I don't know if you guys feel this way, but I just started my day in the best way, because you are, if I had to describe you to somebody else, I'd just say, okay, imagine the biggest heart and the biggest soul in somebody. That's Farah. And so it's true. It's true. There's so much love and desire to help other people that's genuine, that comes out through you. So it's that's what that's Farah for me. So I guess you want me to tell them a little bit of my story, and then we do some Q&A?
Yeah, and before you tell the story, I have one question for you, since you're the first guest on this series of mine. So since you're on the Courage Catalyst series, I would love to invite you to share what courage means to you, or what is your secret sauce, Ruben?
Well, courage, you have to have fear, right? I mean, if you're doing something that's not scary, then there's no courage, right? That's easy to do. And so it's having the fear, but doing it in spite of the fear, right? And usually what will get you to do something like that is desire, right? For something. You want to get away from something, or you want to reach something. And so we'll talk about desire in a little bit, but yeah, it's having the fear, but doing it anyways. And so that's in a nutshell.
That's amazing. And I think if we tune into that today, I think that we are going to find moments that we can feel the fear, as Sudha says, and do it anyway. So I'd love to actually invite you to first share, and just telling everyone here that we're here for 90 minutes, and we'll give Ruben time to share a little of the story. I have a few questions for him. He has no idea, and he doesn't like to know the questions. And some of you have shared your questions ahead of time, so I'll invite you to actually ask those questions of Ruben. He doesn't know your questions as well. He loves the suspense. And then we'll use the space for whoever wants to bring anything into the space to invite Ruben to share, that will help you to really master your inner game of success. So that's how we go. And of course, let's get started. So Ruben, share a little bit about your story as well.
Yes. So let me just change this. I could just see myself. I'd rather see you guys. All right. This is better.
Yeah.
So when you're a speaker, I started speaking professionally in 2002. And most of the time, and most of my clients are corporations. And for some reason, the way they divide corporations out is 200 people at a time under a leader. And so most corporate talks are a couple hundred people. But once in a while, you do an association, it might be thousands, right? And so the first 5-6 times that I spoke for a big group, like 5,000 people, it was for a special client that had these events everywhere. I felt lost. I wasn't afraid that, oh my, there's so many people. I felt lost, and I didn't even know why. And it was, and then I saw Zig Ziglar was part of this group. And so on the 7th time, I was following him. So I was watching from the side of the stage, and I noticed that Zig, he would spend about 75% of the time looking at the front couple of rows, because the light, so you have these huge lights and you can't see anything. It feels like a Mack truck is going to hit you in the road. And so you can't, it's just black and lights, but you can see the reflection of the lights down in the first couple of rows. And that's what you see, the eyeballs and the smiles and the nods, and you feed off of that. And so I thought, so that's how you do it, right? So he would look down 75% of the time, and then he'd look up at this black space so that they would feel included, right? And then he'd look down and he'd look. I'm telling you, you guys, some of you guys are going to be doing this, so you better remember this tip. And so you feed off the people. And so now you can give me $1 million, because you can't see them anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. You just look at the different spots, and everybody feels included. So I was struggling when you were doing the introduction. I thought, okay, all I can see is me, and that's not helping me. I can look in the mirror for that later. But now I see you guys, so I'm ready to roll. So I'm a very unlikely Olympian. You would expect an Olympic athlete to be strong and fast and powerful, and I'm not. I was always the last kid picked for PE, right? For whenever they had sports in school, I was always the last one. I'm sure they do it the same way in India. I was born in Argentina. They do it the same way everywhere I've been. You have the 2 team captains. They're choosing all the kids. I was always the last one they chose, and the last captain always said the same thing. Oh, got to get Ruben again. And so I'm like your neighbor, okay, athletic wise. And one of the main things that I try to get across is I want you to realize, I work really hard to try to get my audience to realize that, hey, this guy's just like my neighbor. He's just a regular guy, right? Because if you see me as an Olympian that's like Arnold Schwarzenegger and all muscles and Superman, then whatever I teach you, you're going to reject, because somewhere you're going to be thinking, yeah, that will work for him, but it's not going to work for me, right? But when I'm done with you, you're going to be thinking, if that guy can go to the Olympics, win even one time, I can do anything, okay? So my job is to give you hope, right? To get you to realize, so you see that we're people, right? We all have dreams and hopes, and we have fears too. And so, and challenges. I was born in Argentina. My dad was a chemical engineer for Exxon, and we moved to the United States when I was 6 years old. We lived a couple of years in New York, and then Houston most of my life, and Venezuela, and back to Houston. Always following the oil, right? And I went to school in Houston, lived most of my life there. It's very, very hot and humid there. I couldn't stand it. And about 10 years ago, we moved to Colorado, which is up in the mountains, and it's very dry and very cool here, and I love it. No bugs either. We're too high up. We're like, you guys are meters, right? You don't do feet. You do meters? Or is it? So we live at about 2,500 meters height. And so, of course, you have the Himalayas, so that's like a lowlands for you, but it's pretty impressive for us. And so anyways, when I was 10, I saw the Olympics for the first time on TV, and I was hooked, right? I was drawn to the Olympic athletes, and I was sitting in the sofa with my younger brother, Marcelo, and I said, man, look at those athletes. They're incredible, and the people, they're going crazy. The Olympics, that's what I'm going to do. And the reason I was always looking for my dream is because I love to read adventure books, okay? Even today. I read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Around the World in 80 Days, all these books about kids that led adventurous lives. We had them all in Spanish. And when we moved to the States, my parents bought them in English, and they brought in a tutor and, put it all together, and that's how I learned. And by the time I could speak English, I would bring these books to school to show them to my friends. I said, look, I want my life to be like a book. And they look at me kind of funny. I said, what do you mean? I said, I want my life to be an adventure, okay? And I was always looking, I always had the antennas, right? If I had been a bug, I would have had my antennas looking for the adventure, right? And when I saw the Olympics for the first time, I knew right away, that's what I want to do. But it was a pipe dream, okay? Because I was always the last kid picked for sports. I didn't believe it was possible. So if I'm on the bench, even for kickball, right? Just a little game they play in the United States, little kids play. It's not even a pro sport. If I'm on the bench for that, how am I going to be in the Olympics? So I didn't believe it was possible, so I didn't do anything, right? The book that you like so much, The Courage to Succeed, that was my first one. The reason, and it's called The Courage to Succeed, okay? Not my courage to succeed, everybody's courage. I believe you have to have two types of courage to reach your goals or dreams. You have the courage to get started, and everything is tough in the beginning because you don't have any skills, and so you have to have the courage to endure, the courage to stay in the game long enough to learn the skills, and then you use those skills to reach the goal or dream. And so the courage to get started, that comes from believing that it's possible, right? If you believe something's possible, it's easy to take action because the belief, right? You believe it's possible, I can do it. The courage to not quit, that comes from your desire. If you want something badly enough, nothing will make you quit. So desire is really important. Well, I had the desire as a 10-year-old. I had the desire to be an Olympic athlete, but I didn't believe it was possible, so I didn't do anything. I read everything about the Olympics. I was so fascinated about it that I couldn't get it out of my head. I became an Olympic expert, okay? I knew all the records, all the big names, all the stories. I was really an Olympic groupie because I didn't take any action. And I meant to say this to you guys. I'm a storyteller, okay? Naturally, that's just what I do. So if all you do is listen to the story, you're going to have an entertaining evening, okay? You're going to have fun. But if you listen with the intent of, okay, looking for the tips, looking for the nuggets, right? How can I use some of these ideas to reach my dream, right? Then this could be a really powerful, life-changing 90 minutes. So listen to it that way. And here's a tip I learned from Les Brown. When you're in your position right now, right, taking notes, write the notes in the first person. Like if he says, get started and don't quit, then write it down. I will get started and I won't quit, right? Like you're writing like an affirmation. And that way, every time you read those notes, it's reinforcing in your mind, right? I thought, Les, that's pretty good, man. I know why you're the big guy, and I'm just hoping to be the big guy one day. And so write it that way. So I didn't believe it was possible. A couple of years went by. My dad, as a chemical engineer, very analytical, right? Very, graphs and very detailed. He got fed up with me talking the talk, but not walking the walk, right? Not doing anything. And he says, Ruben, you like to read books. Why don't you read some biographies? If you'll study the lives of great people, you'll figure out what works and what doesn't work in life, because success leaves clues. And I thought, success leaves clues. That's pretty good. I mean, I don't have to make all the mistakes by myself. I can learn from somebody else. And I started reading them. My dad was so smart. In his 90s, he would do calculus problems for fun. Okay. That's the kind of, mind he had. But he didn't say, read about all these incredible scientists and these incredible engineers. No, he says, read about whoever interests you. Car racing, mountain climbing, sports, whatever, okay, what interests you, because that will keep your interest. And the principles people follow, no matter what their job was, what their industry, the principles are the same, okay? So I thought, man, that's pretty smart. And so I read them, and I kept, after a while, I realized, man, every biography is the same story. It's a story about somebody, and by the way, these are all adventure stories, but they're true life adventures, right? And so it drew me to read more. And I mean, I'm reading 2 or 3 right now. And so after a while, I saw a pattern. I saw every story is the same story. It's a story somebody had a dream, and then they went through a struggle, and then they had a victory. It's always dream, struggle, victory. And then I thought, okay, what's one thing all these people have in common? I can't work on 20 different things, but I can work on one. And what I kept seeing was perseverance. They just refused to quit. I mean, they're a bunch of hardheads, all right? And my mom, she always called me a hardhead, right? And so I thought maybe I have a little bit of what it takes, right? And these people, sometimes 20 years, they're banging their head on the wall trying to figure out how to make that dream come true. But if they didn't quit, one of 2 things always happened. They either figured it out on their own through sheer trial and error, right? They found what worked, or they ran into somebody who had already done what they wanted to do. And that person became their coach or mentor, and they show them the way. But the ones that quit, you never hear about those, right? And so after reading a few biographies, as a 12-year-old, I made a decision that changed my life. And success is a decision, okay? It's a decision. Sooner or later, you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you just get mad, and you say, okay, that's it. I'm going to do it, right? And if it was a movie like Rocky, remember Rocky, the first one, the best one? He's getting knocked down. He's getting beat up. And then he gets mad. He says, I ain't going down no more, right? They start playing the music, and you think, oh, something good's going to happen, all right? And so you have to have your Rocky moment, all right? That's the decision. And so I made a decision. I said, from today on, Ruben doesn't quit anything, right? Because if I'm trying something new and I quit, and next week I try something new and I quit that too, and the next week something totally different and I quit that, then quitting will become a bad habit. 20 years will go by and I won't have done anything with my life. And just the thought of that scared me so much, right? That it was going to be easier not to quit. Fast forward a few years, I'm walking out of the library in college. This kid walks up to me. He goes, Ruben, you know what your nickname needs to be? I said, no, what? He goes, Bulldog. I said, Bulldog, why? He says, because bulldogs never quit. If a bulldog grabs hold of your leg, he's not going to let go. Really? Yeah. And so I turned around, went back in the library, and I got me a book about bulldogs, right? I got to make sure this guy's not making it up. Make sure your facts are right, right? Strong foundation. And he was right. Bulldogs are bred to be tenacious. A couple of 100 years ago in England, they had this sport where it was like a bull ring, a bull, a handful of bulldogs, and it was a fight to the death. It was like a gladiator stuff. The only what you know why their nose is so flat and their jaw is so big and strong? Because once they clamp on, their nose is way back here. They can keep breathing all day long. They don't have to let go. They're ugly for a reason. And so I got excited. And there's a whole series of things. These dogs were bred to be tenacious. The first prototype was a big dog, right? Like a Rottweiler with a bulldog head. Well, the bull gets bit. He starts shaking because it hurts and it breaks his back, breaks the dog's back. So they made him little so he can shake all day long, but he's fine. They're like a little perseverance machine. I ran out of that library, and the first person that I met, I said, "Hey, my name's Ruben, but you can call me Bulldog, okay?" And that became my nickname in high school, okay? And so I didn't even know I was doing this, but I'm creating positive peer pressure to become even more perseverant because I had to live up to the name. I had to live up to that reputation. The other thing my dad always said, the books you read, people you hang around with. He says, you want to hang around people that you have respect for, right? Not people that you have influence over. You know, if all you do is hang around these people down here, they're complainers or whiners. You know, if you try to break out of the pack and do something special, they're going to pull you back because they think they're so small-minded that they think that you succeeding makes them look bad. Just hang around winners, hang around successful people. You'll feel like you don't belong. You'll feel awkward, but force yourself to hang around those winners because if you do, it'll rub off on you. You'll start picking up their habits. You'll start thinking like them. And when those people start believing in you, you believe in yourself because you respect their opinion. And I was smart enough to do those two things, read good books, hang around winners. And I didn't know this was happening, but I was growing on the inside, right? I'm growing. I'm taking bigger chances. I'm being bolder. Life started getting more interesting. 11 years went by, okay, of this, and 11 years. No, it's still going on, right? But after 11 years, and I played soccer, football, right? Football with a soccer ball, a round one, not the American one. And so I played because Argentina, we're soccer fanatics. And so I played all my life, but I'm a slowpoke, so I was always on the bench. I never got to play. And then my dad said, you know, I started noticing that those successful people, I call them my dream team, right? They're my team of people that help me reach my goals. They think differently, okay? They're always focused on the dream. They don't focus on the obstacles. There's always going to be obstacles. That's part of the deal. But they focus on the dream because the dream gives you strength and power and everything you need to bust through those obstacles. And they ask different questions. They ask questions like, why not me? Why not now? Why not? Those are great questions to ask yourself. I mean, those questions, they get your mind thinking about the possibilities. You go to bed, your subconscious mind is still working, okay? And it's trying to figure out a way to make it happen. And you wake up in the middle of the night with all these great ideas. And so, why not me? Why? And I found out that Houston Baptist University, we'd moved to Houston, Texas, HBU, they had an NCAA Division I soccer team. That's the highest level of collegiate soccer. And I thought, why not me? Why not now? Why not? And I found out that there's a day that you could go try out, right? They had all these great players that they had recruited from the top players from big high schools, but there was one spot for a walk-on, right? Somebody that could try to, be that one. And so I went and I tried out and I made the team. I couldn't believe it, right? First time I'm in a real team. And so a couple of weeks later, we're at practice and coach, he says, hey, Ruben, after practice, come to my office. I got to talk to you. I go to the office and he says, close the door, sit down. He said, obviously, you had an incredible day a couple of weeks ago when you did your tryout because you're really not that good. He said, you're too slow, man. You're holding us back. The new rule around here is you get to play only when we're winning by 2 goals because you're a threat to our own team. He actually said that, okay? He was a real motivator. And so I wasn't even down when he said that, right? I just thought, okay, my new goal in life became don't get cut from the team, right? And so I realized, well, maybe I'm not too valuable on the field, but I can still be valuable to the team off the field. And I always was like marketing. So I started making these little posters, right? A picture of a soccer player and come watch us on Saturday play, so-and-so. and I put them all over the school. And if I saw that the grass was too high on the field, I didn't even ask. I just got a lawnmower and I mowed it, right? Or whatever needed to be done. I thought I like photography. I used to bring my camera and take pictures, right? I'm sitting on the bench, might as well do something. I was taking pictures with the guys. My pictures ended up in the yearbook. But anyways, I figured if this guy cuts me, he's going to have to hire 3 guys to replace me, right? And I was on that team for 3 years. And then finally I quit because I realized that soccer wasn't going to take me anywhere and I needed to spend more time with luge. Now, around that time, I'm watching, I'm 21 years old. I'm sitting on the bench, right, of the games, and I see the Olympics again. And I see this little guy. He must have weighed 110 pounds soaking wet and about 5 feet tall, just a little guy. And this kid, he wins the gold medal in figure skate, Scott Hamilton. I mean, you probably never heard of him, but you have. Some of you have. Okay. So he was a great skater. When I saw Scott Hamilton, everything changed. See, my paradigm, my image of an Olympic athlete was like Arnold Schwarzenegger times 10, right? I mean, huge muscles, fast. And this guy was tiny. And I thought, he won. I thought, if that little guy can win, I can at least play. I'm going to be in the next Olympics. It's a done deal. I just have to find a sport. See, I finally believed. I always had the desire. Now I have the belief because I got inspired. Does that make sense? And so I went to the library and I got a big book about the Olympics. And I'm looking through the summer sports first. And it took me 5 minutes to realize, forget it. You have to be Superman to do any of these sports, right? I mean, and that I got down then. I thought, man, no way, I can't do any of this stuff. And then I started looking at the Winter Olympic sports. And as I'm looking at those sports, the analytical side of my brain woke up. And I thought, wait a minute, I'm about to put together a plan for the next 4 years. It probably would make sense to base the plan on my strengths. My strength's not athleticism. I'm just okay athlete. My strength's perseverance. I'm bulldog, remember? And so that's my superpower. I'm bulldog, right? I don't quit. No matter how bad it gets, I don't quit. And so I thought, okay, so I need to find a sport that's got a sport that's so tough, a sport's got so many broken bones in it, there'll be lots of quitters, right? That way my superpower will stand out. See, I reverse engineered it. I didn't even know what that word meant back then, but somebody told me later, you reverse engineered it, and I had to explain it to me. So now I'm looking for tough sports: ski jump, bobsled, luge. Well, I lived in Houston, Texas. Okay, hot, humid, flat, sticky. Houston, forget it. I never skied before. Ski jump, that's suicide. Forget that one. Bobsled. I mean, have you ever seen the Jamaican bobsledders? You know, from the movie. I thought, where am I going to find 3 other nuts in Houston who want to do the bobsled with me? Forget that. And then I saw the luge. I thought, I can do that one by myself. I'd never seen the luge on TV at that point in my life. I mean, if I had, I know I wouldn't have done it. I'm not that crazy. I just had a little picture of a guy on a luge. I thought, that's the one for me. I didn't even know where the track was. So what do? Well, my dad always said, if you have to cross a minefield, it makes sense to find somebody that's already crossed it and go in their footsteps, right? Find somebody that's done it. Well, nobody in Houston's going to know. Sports Illustrated, it's their job, right? It's a big magazine here about sports, Sports Illustrated. It's their job to know. So I wrote them a letter. This is 1984. I didn't have time to wait until they invented emails, right? So I just wrote them a letter, and really good letter. Okay, where do you go learn how to luge? Signed, Ruben. Right? And they actually wrote back, and they sent me this picture of a guy on a luge. I'm looking at it over there. I'll show you. See if you can see it over there. See over there where the rings, that white thing. Let me see if I can. Boy, this is going to take a lot of trying to get my finger. Okay, that white thing is one of my sleds. That's the picture. I'm sure you can't see it. That's my old sled there. These are just a few of my books because yes, I continue to read because I'm hungry to learn. I want to be better every day. So they sent me that picture and I put it in the frame. And it's a picture of a guy on a luge. And as soon as I got it, I put it in the frame and stuck it right in front of my bed, in my bedroom. And the first person I saw in the morning when I woke up was the luge man. And he reminded me, hey, you're going for the Olympics. You got to eat right. You got to hang around winners. You got to read good books for the mental side. You have to work out, get strong. At night, before I shut off the lights, last person I saw was the luge man, right? So what do you think I dreamt about at night? Luge, Olympics. I kept the dream in front of me, okay? Always keep it in front of me. Otherwise, life happens, okay? And 6 months go by, and 12 months go by, and 18 months go by, and then you realize, hey, wait a minute, I was training for the Olympics. I just blew a year and a half. I mean, that sounds stupid, but that's how it is, because your mind gets occupied with whatever little urgent thing that it might be urgent, but it may not be very important, and it takes all your mind away. And so keep it in front of you. If you, let's see, let me turn this on. Farah, I don't know if this is going to work with but anyways, if you called me on the phone, the ringtone is the same, the bell up at the men's start where you're going to luge, right? So every time I get a phone call, my mind is up at the start. Even robocalls, I figured out a way to make robocalls help me make my dream come true, right? And so if you send me a text, I was at the track. Oh, there it is. Did you hear that? That's the sound at the start of the track, right? You hear that
Ruben,
bell? Thank you, Sarah.
I called you, but the power of Zoom is it cuts out all the sound. So
Does it really?
only you heard it, but
well, I got excited. So
yes,
I am
but
sorry
I
for
called
you, but I'm
called
excited.
You.
Wow, does it do that really?
Yeah, it
Wow,
does.
well,
It does. Any
I
sound
learned something
around you,
today.
it just blocks it, Ruben. So
Wow. Oh, and I'm not smart enough to figure out how to. I am smart enough. See, even somebody that's been studying self-talk for his whole life slips sometimes. Okay, I just said I'm not smart enough, but did you see what happened? I corrected it, right? So I am smart. I nipped it in the bud. And anyways, somebody calls me, I'm there. You send me a text, it's the sound of a sled going right in front of me because I recorded it, right? I'm bombarding my brain with the Olympics constantly. That's all I think about. Because, and some of these guys, the whiners and complainers, they might say, you're just a fanatic. When one of them calls you a fanatic, don't take it the wrong way, okay? Because all that means is you're a little focused because they're not focused at all. A little focus to them looks like fanatic. And I guarantee you that the winners are not going to call you a fanatic. They're going to say, wait, you are very focused, right? And you're driven in the right direction. Man, proud to be your friend. So don't, yeah. If one of these guys laughs at me, whenever I have a new dream, I'm looking for the laughs. I'm looking for the ridicule because that's an indicator that I'm dreaming big. If I don't hear too many laughs, then I think that's an indicator I'm not dreaming big enough. Does that make sense? So that's turn everything that happens to a positive that'll help you propel you even further, harder, faster. So they said Lake Placid, New York, a little town in New York State. So I called them up. I'm an athlete in Houston. I want to learn how to luge. So I'm in the Olympics in 4 years. Will you help me? And the guy says, how old are you? And I said, 21. And he starts laughing. He says, 21, forget it, man. You're too old. We start them off when they're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. By now you should have 10 years experience. There's no way. I didn't know what to do. Only thing I knew was that hanging up the phone, that is not an option, right? That would have been the end of the dream. And so I just kept talking to him, talking. And something that my dream team, I don't know if I ever told you this, Farah, but something that what the dream team guys told me once was, whenever you're going after a goal and you hit a wall, right, that you didn't even expect it, right, but it was like an invisible wall. It's like, boom, knocks you back, right, like what happened to me in Austria a month ago, right? Then you have to immediately start telling yourself, there's always a way, there's always a way, there's always a way. I'm going to find a way. I'm going to win. I'm going to find a way because God always gives me a way. I just have to find that way. There's always a way. You just get that going in your head, right? And that puts you into solution finding mode, not in, oh, life is so unfair. This always happens to me. Oh, I am such a victim. No. There's always a way, there's always a way. So this guy says, you're way too old, right? And I got in my head, there's always a way, there's always a way, there's always a way. I mean, it's automatic now, right? And I just started telling this guy my life story till I could think of something, right? To buy some time. And I'm telling him my life story. And I happened to tell him that I was born in Argentina. And oh my gosh, I got to tell you, Sunil, I love your picture of where you're going like this. I'll tell you, that is so cool. yes, I am ADD, and I get excited, and I get distracted by things, but I go back. That's why I need to bombard myself with the Olympics, because to overcome the ADD. And I thank God that I have ADD. You know why? Because we have an extra gear. Most people, they might have 5 gear, right? But if we are really interested in something that's very important to us, we have the 6th gear that's like super focused, right? And the house could be burning down, but you're still doing your push-ups to be ready to, for the next Olympics. And it also helps you to multitask. So for an entrepreneur, it's a superpower. I accept it, and I thank God that I'm ADD, and it makes me good on stage. Zig Ziglar. I don't know if you probably heard of him, since he used to. Well, I got to share the stage with him about 25 times in big arenas, and I was always just watching what he did, right, and trying to absorb like a sponge. And he would laugh at me. He said, "Ruben, you are a little bit like, when you're up on stage speaking, you're a little bit like a cross-eyed discus thrower, okay? Or javelin thrower, same thing." He says, "You don't break too many records, but you keep the crowd on the edge of their seats." So I said, okay, Zig, I'll take that as a compliment. So anyway, would you rather have a crazy man like me, right, that's excited and passionate and gets off track once in a while, or somebody with a 96 slide, PowerPoint, where you just go to sleep? No, let's just have fun.
You're amazing.
Okay.
You are amazing. We'd rather have you.
All right, very good. I'm with my people now, I tell you. So
yes, maybe others can give us, share what they think. Is this what you want? Show us in your reactions. Let's use the reaction buttons.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Thank you. 2 thumbs up. All right. And Sunil, he's still doing this. His fingers just doesn't do this. And so anyway,
he's come on live. He's come on live, Ruben.
I saw him, man. Look at that smile. I love it. So, man, my first coach, he's this Austrian guy. He was a 3-time world champion. He looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger, tough, mean, and he never smiled. He developed every muscle in his body except these 2 muscles here, right? So Neil could give him some lessons. But anyway, so I happened to tell this guy, remember, I'm talking to the guy in Lake Placid, and I happened to tell him that I was born in Argentina. And he gets all excited. He said, "Argentina, if you go for Argentina, we'll help you." And I said, "Why? A minute ago, you weren't going to help me at all." And he said, "The sport of luge is this close to getting kicked out of the Olympics because we're not global enough, okay? It's just the US, Canada, a few European countries. And so there's all these other sports that are trying to take our place. And so if you'll go for Argentina," let me check something. Wait a minute. Wow. There's nobody in South America. You'd be a whole new continent. I thought, oh, I'm a continent now, huh? So if you go for Argentina, we'll train you. You'll travel with us. We'll even lend you a sled the first year. Eventually, got to get your own stuff. We're going to have to compress 10 years of luge training, because it takes 10 years to make it to the top of the track safely. We're going to have to compress that into just 2 years, okay? You're going to get hurt a lot. But we need to do that because the last 2 years, you have to be competing in World Cup races all over the world to try to gain a world standing. Somebody just sent me a text, but you didn't hear it because Zoom is too smart for their own good. So anyways, he says, you have to be competing so you can have a top 50 in the world get to go. And that's how you get your world standing. And I said, great. And he goes, well, hang on. Before you come to Lake Placid, you need to know 2 things. Number 1, you want to do it at your age? You want to do it in just 4 years? It's brutal. 9 out of 10 people quit. I started smiling. I thought, wow, this works right into my plan. This is awesome. I said, what's the second thing? He says, expect to break some bones. And I said, great. And he got really quiet for a long time. And he comes back. He goes, what is wrong with you, man? I mean, I just told you you're going to break some bones. That makes you happy? I says, look, man, I hope it's 10 times harder what you tell me. I hope it's 100 times harder, because the harder it is, the easier it is for me, because I'm not a quitter. I'm bulldog, right? Bring it on. And so I was praying that it would be so hard that some of the Germans would quit, okay, because they win all the races. But I didn't pray hard enough. They show up, they race, they pick up their medals, they go home. I mean, they don't even get excited and have so many medals. So I went. A couple of months after I saw that little figure skater on TV, I'm in Lake Placid, New York, learning how to luge. First on wheels, and they put me in a group with 15 new guys, and every day there's a couple less showing up. By the end of the first, it was a 2-week camp. By the end of the 2 weeks, I was the only one left from that group. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. They're quitting on their dream. And they all had these reasons, right? They all these really good reasons why they, and I thought it was more like excuses. They call them reasons. It's too expensive. It's too far away. Well, I miss my family. I don't like the luge. Well, I didn't like the luge either. I mean, I was killing myself out there. I mean, first 2 years, I was crashing 4 out of 5 times. I mean, that hurt, okay? But I kept at it. And after a while, I was crashing 3 out of 5. I mean, that was a great day, right? And by the end of the second year, I'm crashing 1 out of 100. I finally figured out how to drive that darn sled. And then I started competing internationally. But I'm still a beginner, okay? I'm no better than a 16-year-old kid. How old do you have to be in India to drive? The first, is it 16? 16, 17?
Driving is 18.
18. Oh, they're smarter. Here they let you out at 16, right? 16 years old. I mean, they're a danger to humanity. But I was about that level of driver on a sled. And now they put me in this room for a World Cup race, and I'm looking around, and it's all these champions, and I had this crisis of belief. I thought, I don't belong here. I couldn't even look them in the eyes. And I would go to the darkest corner of the start house, and that's where I would get ready. And I would just put on the blinders, and I would just think, just stick it out, do it, keep going. Got to get those World Cup points. Just keep getting those World Cup points. And meanwhile, the Germans, who are the best in the world, they won't give me the time of day. I might be walking down the track, and there's some Germans working on a sled. And I said, hey, Hans, how you doing? Nothing. I mean, like I'm invisible. And that just confirmed in my mind that I didn't belong there. I felt like an ant. I really did. But I kept at it, right? And on the 4th year, I cracked it to the top 50, and I made the Calgary Olympics, 1988 Calgary Olympics. And then 2 years later, okay, 2 years later, I'm walking down this track, and there's these Germans working on a sled. And one of them shouts out, hey, Gonzalez, Speedy Gonzalez, hey, how are you? And I got mad. I thought, what's wrong with you guys? I've been nice to you for years, and I'm Speedy Gonzalez. He goes, come, we must talk to you. And they sat down at this big table, the coaches, the whole team, right? And they gave me the talk, all right? And they said, look, we have 4 luge tracks in a country the size of Texas, okay? Back then, the only tracks in the U.S., when I got started, the only track was Lake Placid. And they built Calgary. They only built them for the Olympics. We decided a long time ago we were going to dominate this sport. So we invested in it, right? Just like you guys and me, we invest in ourselves by going to, buying books and going to seminars. We're investing in ourselves. There's great ROI in that. And some of us started when we were 5 years old. And then one day we became the best in our town. Then we became the best in our region. Then we made the national team, 10 men, 10 women make the national team. Then we made the Olympic team, 3 men, 3 women. But then we have so many great losers in our country that we'll be lucky to do 2 Olympics. But you know what we're going to do after that? I'm going to know what? He says, we're going to coach. We're going to continue this legacy. We're going to continue this greatness, right? We dedicate our lives to the sport. And we're sick and tired of seeing people from other countries. They come, they do 1 Olympics, and they disappear. You know what we call them? I said, no, what? Olympic tourists, always with a little camera. He goes, but now it's 2 years after your first Olympics. Obviously, you're trying to make the Albertville Olympics in '92. Whether you make it or not doesn't matter to us. What matters to us is you're respecting the sport. So today you have earned our respect, right? I got goosebumps now just telling you that, man. And so that's like a gold medal to me. And so, and then they said, and that's called commitment, right? And I thought back then, 25-year-old kid, I didn't get it. I thought these guys are nuts, okay? These guys are fanatics, right? Compared to where I was. But now I agree with them 100%, right? Now that I've got 4 under my belt. I don't like their method, right? The way they are, they're being jerks to everybody unless they do what they believe is good. I try to get them to, come on, man, do at least 2 Olympics. The first one, you're just going to be so scared, so nervous. You're going to have a lousy race. The second one, man, you're going to be the best. Trust me. And I've gotten some people to do 2, 3 Olympics that way, right? I think it's a better method. But a commitment, and so you want to be respected by the people in your industry, right? Whatever industry that is, because that fills your heart and makes you feel good, proud, right? Who cares what these guys do? They have no. I don't care what these guys say. No, I want what my mentors say, what my coaches say, right? Those are the ones. So, did you say we're going to do 90 minutes or 90 hours, Farah?
Let's. It looks like we go on for 90 hours.
We all want to do
buckling up.
Why don't we do some questions? And then, because all my answers are stories anyways.
Oh, yeah.
You want to do that?
Let's
all
take
right,
a
let's
minute.
do that. For me, it's more fun.
I know, but you have been incredible. I'm just thinking you've reached your second Olympics, right? In your story.
Yeah. So I did Calgary, 88. And then Albertville, France, 1992. And then I quit, right? I wanted to do different things. And so I didn't slide for six or 7 years. And then my coach, who's this Austrian guy, super champion, he starts calling me, Ruben, 5 years before the Salt Lake City Olympics. Ruben, you must come back. Luge needs Argentina. They were short on countries again. That's why he called me. And he goes, coach, I'm done. Thanks. I hang up. And he calls back. He's a winner, right? He won't take no for an answer. And he goes, U.S. Olympic spirit. U.S. Olympic spirit is the best. You regret it if you don't go. Oh, man, I don't regret anything, right? But thanks, but no thanks. That time it hurt. And then he calls back. Come, okay, I got a deal for you. He totally lost his accent. He goes, I got a deal for you. I have a camp coming up in Calgary, Canada, 2-week camp. You get yourself to that camp, and I'll take care of the room, board, track fees. Every time we take a luge run, we take 5 or 6 a day. Every run is $40 out of our pocket, right? I'll pay for everything for 2 weeks. And afterwards, you tell me if you want back or not. And I thought, oh my gosh, I mean, coach is not only the meanest, toughest guy I know, he's also the cheapest guy I know, right? I mean, all these years, he never even bought me a beer. And now he's offering me thousands of dollars for free training. I thought, they must really need Argentina. And so I told him, okay, I got a deal for you. I got a brother. He's seen me go to the Olympics twice. I see the look in his eyes. If that deal goes for him too, hey, we have 5 years till the next Olympics. Maybe he can learn the sport. Maybe he can crack into the top 50. Maybe he can make it to the Olympics. How old is he? He's 30 years old. 30 years old? Are you crazy? He started when he was 5. Oh, you got to see this guy, coach. He's an incredible athlete. He's not, okay? I mean, he's an architect, okay? He's just not, but he's mentally tough. So I knew he could do it. All right, bring him along. So he hangs up on him. I go to Marcelo, my brother, and I said, look, you got to, worst case scenario, you have a free 2-week vacation. And he said, yeah, right. I could die on this vacation of yours, right, Ruben? I said, yes, that's definitely a possibility. but think about it. Best case scenario, you could be an Olympian. Think about it. You could be the Olympic architect, right? And I got him there. He started smiling. He goes, Olympic architect. That sounds good. So he went and he caught the dream. And he came back and he started eating right and working out and focusing. And he broke a few bones too, okay? But we're all bulldogs in our house. I mean, no chihuahuas allowed, just bulldogs. And so he kept coming. And on the last, there was 2 races to go in qualification. I was already in, but Marcelo, he just didn't have the points. There's no way. And then on the last race, he just had an incredible result, got a bunch of World Cup points, and it bumped up to 49th in the world. He got to go too. We made Olympic history, first time 2 brothers compete against each other in the men's luge. I mean, how crazy is that? For the record, I won, okay? But and he got it out of his system after 1. But me, it's like a drug. I got to have it again. I mean, those 2 weeks are worth anything to me. It's just so special.
Beautiful. I love hearing. I think all of us are fascinated by, one, your storytelling, just the passion that I see in what you, how you live your life. And I think when you say make it an Olympic day, in every email of yours, I can see you living it right now. So just want to say thank you for sharing this beautiful story from the time you were a child and what inspired you, etc. So I'm just thinking I don't know if I want to ask, I had some questions, but I thought that since everybody's here, I might want to invite others. And I had a few lightning round questions. I had some lightning round questions for you, so you could.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I could
Okay,
use it
here
if
we
we
go.
have time in the end, but I
Let
would.
me put my seatbelt on. Okay, I'm ready now.
Yeah. Maybe I can ask one question before we open it to the others here, because I'm sure they're waiting to ask you some questions and connect with you.
Yeah,
So
sure.
just one question is, how do you prepare mentally? You shared a couple of things, but how do you prepare mentally for these challenges that you have, like what you had last in a few weeks ago as well? How do you
Oh,
prepare?
and I'll send you a new link. To the crash, okay? And you're welcome to share it with your folks, but just share it to these folks, right? Or
Yeah.
you know, because I made a page on my website, but it's like a hidden page, right? In case
But they don't know about your crash. They don't know about.
Okay.
Maybe you can quickly
All right.
share that.
So yeah, sure. So I did Calgary, then I did Albertville, and then I quit for a few years. And then my coach called me. I started training. I made Salt Lake City. That was 2002. And then I quit again because I started speaking professionally then and writing books, and the challenge of building a business kept me busy for about 6 years. And then I got bored because I needed a challenge, and this business was already running well. I need a challenge. I got bored, and so I started training again for Vancouver. Now in Salt Lake City, Salt Lake was 10 years after Albertville. Okay, and so when I walked into Salt Lake City, I was 39 years old. And when I walked into the Olympic Village, it was like a shock, okay? Because all the athletes were in their 20s, and I was 39. I felt just like a dad visiting his kids in college. Exactly, okay? And then to make it worse, everybody was asking me the same question. So what are you coaching? And I said, no, I'm an athlete. And they would actually look me up and down and go, no, come on, what are you coaching? Great, no respect. But and so I started buying into the thought that this is going to be my last one, right? So I better really enjoy it. And I bought into the limiting thinking, right, that all these other people were giving me, which is a bad thing. And after 6 more years after that, I found out nobody had ever done 4 Winter Olympics in 4 different decades, right? I thought I would be the first. I thought, hey, that's great. So I started training. And I made Vancouver with 2010. I was 47, right? Now, by Vancouver, they thought I was coach's dad, right? And by then, all the other coaches, they're cheering for me. They're saying, "Come on, Gonzalez, do it for the old guys." I got them on my team now. So I was 47. And then a few years later, like 6 or 7 years later, I got the itch again, right? The desire, the restlessness, right? Of being bored. And I thought, I was 55. I wonder if this old body can even handle the G forces, because you pull 6 Gs on some of the curves and your head's hanging off the end of the sled, right? So you have to be strong. And I went to Calgary, and I hang on. I gotta show him my racket. Have you seen my tennis racket?
I know the story, but you can share that.
Okay, give me a second, okay? Still asleep. This is my new prop that I use. I used it about a week ago when I spoke, and everybody liked it so much, but it doesn't fit in my bag, okay? And I travel with just a carry-on, and so I have to get a smaller one. But anyways, so I'll go with my 25-year-old sled. I go to Calgary in October, and I was sliding better than ever because I was mentally stronger, right? Even though I hadn't been sliding I'm mentally stronger. So something that scared me before and made me freeze, now I would make a correction and fix it, right? So I'm better, right? And different coach, he said, Ruben, why don't you come back in December? There's a World Cup race here in Calgary. If you qualify, you'll be the oldest person in the history of the sport to compete internationally. I thought, whoa, another record. Yeah, baby. And so I go back, and with my old sled, 25-year-old sled, okay? And I show up to the race with this, and everybody's laughing. They said, that thing belongs in a museum, not in a World Cup race. I said, well, I'm not buying a new sled for one race. Okay, I'm going with this. And so we had to do some things that we'd never done before. And we did some mental training and just a few little things, because even though I have hundreds of runs on that track, I know that track inside and out. Because of my old sled, the new technology, the new sleds were faster. And in order for me to even qualify for the race, I was going to have to beat my personal best by 0.2 of a second, which is a lot in this sport. In fact, luge is the only sport that's timed to the 1/1000th of a second. And so I was going to have to beat it by 0.2, 200,000ths of a second. And so it's a lot. And you get 5 chances. And you take 5 runs, and your run has to be within 5% of the fastest run clocked on that run. And on the 4th one, I did it, right? I qualified by 4/100th of a second, okay? 4/100. I take my clock and I put it on, I try it later, okay? Don't do it now. But I put it like on stopwatch, and I go as fast as I can. And most of the time it's 0.11, right? Once in a while I do 0.09. That's as fast as I can. Well, I qualified by 0.04. That much. Yeah, crazy, right? And so then I raced, right? And I broke that record. And then the next day, so the men raced on Saturday, the women and the doubles, they race on Sunday. And so this coach, this German coach, comes with me, right? With this racket. And this is an old racket, okay? And he must have gone to like the used sports store or something, a very used sports store, and he presents it to me with this solemnly, right, almost like you're going to be the knighted, right? It was that kind of seriousness. And he goes, Ruben, this is for you. I said, what's that? He goes, what you did qualifying on that track with that old sled, it's just like winning Wimbledon with a wooden racket. I thought, wow, that's awesome. So that's my wooden racket, baby. That's my gold medal. So I got a brand new sled now, and I went test drove it. COVID messed things up. I couldn't slide, but and it was stuck in Canada. And so I waited till COVID was over. I went there in last December, and I picked it up, and I went to Salt Lake City, which is the closest track to my house. It's like a 10-hour drive from my house, now 9 hours. And test drove it January and then again in February of this year. And I'm sliding better than ever, right? At 61. And coach said, man, you got a shot, okay? You got a shot at the next one, all right? You still have to improve, but you have a shot. It's possible. And I told coach, don't tell me the number you're thinking, okay? Because if you're thinking it's 10% chance, then I might quit. If you think it's 99% chance, I might not train hard enough because I'll be overconfident. So don't tell me. As long as you say, is it possible? That's all I need to know, right? And so now we put together a game plan. And the game plan, so I was in Austria a month ago. I was in Austria training, and because that's probably going to be the track they're going to use, because Italy decided not to. The next Olympics in 2026 is in Milan. And but they just announced they're not going to build a track, right? It's like $100 million to build a track. And so they're probably going to use the one in Innsbruck in Austria. So I went there to start training. And at the end of one of my runs, I crossed the finish line, and I was sliding really well again, right? It still needs improvement, and I have to beat probably 9 people that I've never beat before, but I'm improving, all right? I'm gaining on them. They've peaked, right? So I just need time and a lot of runs to be able to reach them. Does that make sense? And so that's why coach says it's possible. You've never been this good that you need to be, but it's possible because, right? And so we have this game plan. And on one of my runs, at the end of the run, you cross the finish line. You're actually going to get to see the video of this because Farah is going to send it to you. I cross the finish line, and right after I cross it, I hit a rut right in the braking area. It's very rough there, and I crash. Okay, I come off the sled and I'm sliding, right? But I was fine. I was just bruised ego, no bruised nothing else, right? But I was mad. It was a stupid mistake because I could have broken something and hurt my season. And so curve 14 is the last curve, the finish curve, right? You cross the finish line, I crash, and then the sled keeps going and it stops on top of curve 15, where they have a little bit of snow there to slow it down. And so I have to go get the sled and get it out of there. I can't just climb off the track, because the next sled, if it hits it, it could kill them, right? And so whenever somebody crashes, they're supposed to say, the announcer from the tower says, hold on track, all right? I mean, nobody's sliding anymore. And so the guy that's waiting is going to go after me. His name's Grayson from Australia, and he's waiting, all right? And they didn't say hold on track, but I didn't hear it because I kept my visor down. I should have lifted my visor, but I kept it down. And I was so in my head anyways, I probably still wouldn't have heard it. I was just cursing myself, walking up with my sled, right? And they let his sled down and he came, right? And I'm walking and I hear this, just like that, right? But I didn't process it because I was still, yelling at myself for my mistake. I hear, and the next instant I'm flying, right? And I landed and I dislocated this arm, right? And so that's the end of, in fact, I probably won't even know till next week if it needs surgery or not. I'm hoping it'd be fine. I've been, working it and everything, trying to get my range of motion. And the plan is, if there's no surgery, then January I'll go back to training, and I can't use my arms because that bone could come back out. It's not tight, right? And you can't use it. But I'm a big believer that you do what you can with what you have. You don't make an excuse. You just do what you can with what you have. I need runs, right? I need many, many runs, as many as possible. So, man, lay me on the sled, give it a push, and I'll practice my driving, right? And I'll continue strengthening this, right? So that later, when I can pull and use my arms, fine. But don't use it as an excuse, because I've already been robbed of a bunch of runs that I was hoping to get, but now it's rehab. It's an attitude that what can I do right now? What can I do in the next 10 minutes to get me closer to my goal, my dream? About a year before the 2 years before the Vancouver Olympics, my coach, different coach, American coach that understands the mind, he said, and this is out of the TED Talk, so I'm going to make this quick, but he said, I can't believe you're still scared after 25 years. I mean, you're still scared. What's going on in your head? And I says, man, as I see those walls going faster and faster, I get tighter and tighter. I can't believe I can even steer at the bottom of the track because I'm so scared. And he said, luge is not about speed. It's about who has the best time, okay? So stop looking at those walls because they're scaring you, all right? Pretend you're a horse and you have blinders on, right? And you can only see, focus on a point 30 feet in front of you, 10 meters in front of you, and your thinking needs to be, what do you need to do in every section of every curve to ensure you have your best time, right? If you change your focus, the fear will disappear. And I trust this guy, okay? I've always been a hard head, very uncoachable, and I learned everything the hard way, okay? My first coach, he says, Ruben, your nickname shouldn't have been Bulldog because you were only half Bulldog. The other half was mule, because you're stubborn like a mule. If you just listened to me the first time, you wouldn't have broken all those bones, right? I broke my foot twice, my knee, my elbow, my hand, my thumb, a couple of ribs, everything on this side, right? Yeah, this side is my, this is my lucky side until now, right? Because I got this,
And I saw.
You know what? And it might.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is the dislocations on this one. But you know what? I just thought of a different way to think about this. This is awesome. I always used to say, this is my lucky side. This is my Tom Cruise side, right? And this is my Tommy Lee Jones side, right? And then I thought, now I got hurt on this side, man. That messes up that line. But you know what? This makes the story better. And so if I make the next one, and I say if, because it's out of my control. All I can control is what I do, all right? I can't control what the other guys do. So it's possible, but it's not 100% possible, all right? I could get appendicitis the day before the Olympics and I'm out, right? It could happen. But is that going to keep me from trying? I can handle not making it. What I can't handle is not going for it. I can't handle that, right? I want to be able to look at the guy in the mirror when I shave. Does that make sense? In the morning or when I'm brushing my teeth. I want to be able to look at that guy and respect that guy, not be like this, brushing my teeth, looking down. Right? And so what determines that is not the result. What determines that is how hard you fight, right? For the dream. deep you dig. And so this, okay, I have all these friends that have movies. My life is better. My story is better than a lot of these guys' movies, okay? I have movie envy. And this might be just the finish we need. This might be what attracts a director saying, Gonzalez, we got a movie now. We got a movie.
Who knows? We might have a director.
This might be still my lucky side.
We might have a director in this group, but
oh yeah. Well,
we
okay.
might.
If it gets in media, if it gets made in China, this is my only requirement. In China, I mean in India, China.
Yes,
yeah,
India.
My only requirement is Ismail Khan has to play Ruben Gonzalez.
Let's create that. Let's create that.
That will be a dream come true.
Ruben, your hand is really healed very well, because when we spoke the last time, it was black and blue, and it's
yeah, it's still bruised. Believe it or not, my whole hand is bruised, even though I didn't break anything, but I must have shocked it really hard. It has no strength almost, and my elbow, it just has. I'm working on being able to stretch it, right? Because I can't fit in the sled right now. You can't even put me in the sled. So I'm
working at that.
Working it. So,
yeah.
Anyways,
Thank you,
it's an attitude. It's an attitude that no matter what happens, I gotta find a win, right? Because champions, like everybody here, if you're on this call, you're a champion, all right? I mean, I'm serious. You could be eating dinner, watching TV, but you decided, no, I'm gonna invest and I'm gonna learn more, right? Because I want to be better, because I want to reach my dreams, and so. Champions don't have the luxury of whining and complaining and feeling bad when bad things happen. A boxer friend of mine, he said, look, when a boxer gets knocked down, he has 10 seconds to get up. If he gets up at 11, he lost the fight. So from now on, all of you guys and me, we are honorary boxers, okay? So whenever life knocks us down, we got 10 seconds to get back up, because if you get up quick, you don't lose the momentum. If you wait and you wallow in your pity, for yourself, then you lose all that momentum. It's 10 times harder to get going again. So just be smart about it, right?
Absolutely.
Right. That was my short answer.
You've given us so much gold. I think we're all going to go out and really make. I just believe that I was a sponge today. Thank you.
Lightning time.
I think when I spoke to you last, when it happened, that was the first thing I said. What a blessing! Grateful that you're here with us, and of course we believe in miracles, right? You and me. We have a lot in common. We believe in adventure as well. So, and courage, of course. So here are a few quick questions. No overthinking. What's your favorite book now?
Oh gosh, I always forget this guy's name. Zinzer is The Confident Mind. I like that book a lot right now. The Confident Mind by, I forget his first name, Zinzer. He is the psychiatrist, mental coach for West Point Academy, the Army Academy. It's very good.
Fantastic. What's the best piece of advice you would share with us?
Find the leader, find that person that's already done what you want to do, and just trust them, let go, and you become the leader, right? So you find the leader, and then you listen to the leader, and you do what they say, and then you become like that leader.
Beautiful. Thank you. What's the legacy you want to leave behind?
When I wrote my latest book, and it's based on that TED Talk. It's called The Shortcut: The Fastest Way to Reach Your. And it's a story. It's just a story about, inspired by this hardhead.
Let me just mute somebody.
Yeah.
She did. Go ahead.
So it goes back to my kids, the legacy. I'm a big believer that my finished product, right, that I become through all the reading and hanging out with people like you and all this, my finished product, this is powerful, is their raw material. They're starting at a little higher level, right? So I have a responsibility to continue learning so that my finished product be even better raw material for them, right? And so I've never been too crazy about parable books, right? These little story books because they're too simplistic. I've always been a big reader, and I read one of these and it feels like I'm reading a coloring book, right? It only has like one point and they repeat the same point every 5 pages, and it bores me. But after this TED talk, I thought, you know what? Maybe this is maybe maybe I should do this type of a book. And so I got a coach, I got a guy who's very successful in writing these types of books. And I asked him for advice, and I sent him my manuscript, and he said, hey, you have too many points here, man. You're doing the same mistake that I used to do. But you know what? Sales are inversely proportional to how much you teach in these types of books. My editors, they don't want me to have more than 3 points. He says 5 maximum. We're not going to let you have 6, right? And I had 66 in mind. And I read it, and I thought, I don't care about sales. This legacy. This book's gonna be a legacy for my kids, right? When I'm long gone, my kids, my grandkids, they're gonna read it. And so it goes back to the next generation. Everything we do, we can impact. There's a lot of responsibility to what we do. It's not just about us.
Absolutely. Thank you. And that's a question that I always am living with. This decade was all about what legacy am I creating? So you inspire me with that. I have the last one, which is something I've created today, because this is the first part of the Courage Catalyst series. So you can shape the next conversation, right, by adding a thought-provoking question to my next guest. So what question would you ask? It could be an anonymous question, anything. And I'm going to save that. And so whoever's the guest next, they'll answer this question from you.
Oh, you want me to come up with this now?
Question, any question.
Life-changing question, no pressure, huh? Okay.
Sorry.
Let me see.
You said you like challenges, so I brought this.
Yeah. No. This is good. When you were the closest to quitting because your circumstances were so bad and life seemed so unfair and that the light at the end of the tunnel, you're starting to believe it's a train, it's not light, right? When you had that, what kept you going?
Beautiful. Thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you so much. You've woken up early for this, and it means a lot. You know how much I love you. Thank you, Ruben. And I just want to leave, if anybody else wants to say anything before we wrap up, feel free to unmute and share, what you're feeling right now at the end of this, those who stayed. But I'm going to send you an email with all the links that you can connect with Ruben. He has an amazing, tips that he sends. Beautiful tips, and the way you can connect with him, and of course, invite him in, to speak at your organization as well. So, yeah. So feel free to unmute.
Person from Dubai still here? No, she's gone, right?
She's gone. No, she's here. Oh, okay. Nisha's here.
Oh, she is. So I got to speak at the Burj Al Arab 2 times.
Okay.
Yeah, but I never stayed there. They put me in a different hotel.
Oh. I think Abdul Aziz and I are plotting something in Saudi Arabia. What do you think, Abdul Aziz? Yes.
That would be amazing, Farah. We look forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. And so if any of you guys make it to Colorado, let me know, okay? I mean, I want to meet in 3D.
And I want to say thank you to Manisha. She's and quite a few of you, especially Manisha, who's been capturing your gold, your nuggets in the chat. So I'm going to save that and send it to all of you as well, because you don't have to lose that at all. Thank you, Manisha. You're amazing at that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, guys.
You have a few minutes, so anyone wants to unmute, feel free.
Yeah. By the way, good evening, everybody. By the way, any plans for India? Can we have something in India?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. I'd love to go visit India and speak there. Ever since I watched the movie Gandhi, and this is back in the 80s, man, I still, it's like, man, what a country. I want to go see this place. And
Ruben, 2024.
And it's a matter of time. It's going to happen.
Ruben, your breathwork coach, Wolfgang, will come with you to India. He's coming to India next year.
Beautiful.
We can create that possibility.
Yes. So I don't have to hold my breath for this then, huh?
No.
Excellent.
We'll make it happen.
Okay.
Great. Fantastic.
So, Farah, if I can just quickly say something.
Sure.
Thanks, Ruben. Thank you, Farah, and everyone here. Many things stood out for me, but just one thing that really did was that you've not let successes come in your way. You've always gone beyond your successes. Failures, of course, you've gone beyond, or roadblocks, you've gone beyond, but your achievements have never put you into a comfort zone. You've always had that itch that you were speaking about. So
Yeah.
I think that was something that really stood out for me, because a lot of times we tend to rest on our successes,
Yeah.
on our past successes.
Yeah. I think being ADD or ADHD or whatever the heck I am is part of it. You know, I get restless if I get bored easy, and drives everybody crazy around me, right? But I have to, and it's funny. People think that lugers, right? The people that do the luge, that we're daredevils, right? But we're not. The daredevils, they quit. They quit the first year. They go try, bungee jumping or base jumping or things like that. They're looking for that next dopamine, and I'm looking for dopamine. But when you look at the individual athletes that make it to the top of the sport, they're very analytical, very engineer minded, and they understand the process, right? It's what gets you there. So it's a different mentality, because in order to become an expert, you have to, when I'm doing my exercises for this arm, right? You know what I say every time I have the bungee, right? And the band, right? To strengthen it. With every repetition, I say, trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. And so I say it, all right, it's fun. So I say it so that I know I have to trust the process, right? But by saying it, it keeps other bad thoughts from entering my brain, right? And so I just trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. And it drives it home even more. It's never ending, guys. I mean, just like when I messed up earlier and I said something negative, it's like the person that smokes, it's a struggle, or the person that stops drinking alcohol. It's a daily struggle for the rest of their life, okay? And so our struggle is a little bit more fun, right? It's we're gonna be better and better and better and better. And eventually, even before my first Olympics, I was at a gym, a little small gymnasium in Houston. And this is in the 80s. And Evander Holyfield, he's a very famous boxer now. He was a light heavyweight boxer, and he moved up to heavyweight, and he was going to fight a guy that was like 10 kilos more than him, or 15 kilos more. And everybody thought he's going to get killed, right? And Evander beat this guy, okay? And all of a sudden, he's in all the magazines, and everybody's talking about Evander, right? Because how could this little guy beat the giant? And so I'm working out in Houston, and in walks Lou Duva, who was the coach, and all of his athletes, and one of them is Evander Holyfield, right? And everybody started doing the same thing. It's like, it's Evander Holyfield. We started whispering real loud. It's Evander Holyfield. What's he doing here? And nobody had the guts to say hello. Me neither, right? What am I going to say? Evander Ruben Gonzalez, aspiring Olympian, right? Because I didn't even have one back then. And so, but the littlest boxer, like a flyweight or something, he didn't look so intimidating, right? So I thought, I can talk to him. And so the little guy, he gets on a stationary bike and he starts warming up, right? So I went right next to him and I started warming up, right? Yeah, I knew he was a boxer, but I had to start a conversation, right? You find something in common. So he says, what do you do? What's your sport? He goes, I box. What do you do? I said, I'm a loser. And he goes crazy. He goes, a loser? Don't you ever call yourself a loser. You're a winner. You're a winner. Just like that, real loud, like motivational speaker. And everybody starts standing up from their machines. They want to see who the loser is, right? I was so embarrassed, I almost walked out the door, joined a different club, okay? I mean, it was that bad. And I said, luge, man, it's like the bobsled. Because back then you had to explain it to everybody. And finally he gets it, right? He goes, oh, sorry, I thought you called yourself a loser. I said, well, why did you, yeah, now everybody thinks I am, right? But why did you freak out when you thought I called myself a loser? And he says, Ruben, you ought to know better. Champions don't call themselves losers. Winners don't call themselves stupid. Okay. He says, sometimes he's telling me this. Sometimes I'm walking down the mall, all right, or down the street. And you know what's going on in my head? I says, no, what? He goes, I'm the champ. I'm the champ. I rule the ring. Okay. Nobody can beat me. He says, I don't say that to other people. If I talked that way to my friends, I wouldn't have any friends. But I need to say it to myself, because some days I don't feel worthy of the title. Okay. And it turns out this guy was Vinny Pazienza. He was the reigning world champion lightweight boxer at the time. If I'd known he was the champ, I wouldn't have talked to him either, right? But that came out in the conversation. And I said, man, give me a break. You're the champ. He goes, hey, I'm a human being. Everybody feels down sometimes. And so you got to be so careful about what you say to yourself. He says, you know what you need to do, Ruben? You get yourself a rubber band, right? And I don't have one to show you, but you don't get a skinny one. You get a big fat one, okay? And every time you wear it for a month, and every time you catch yourself calling yourself stupid or idiot or anything like that, you pop yourself as hard as you can, and then you replace the negative word with a positive word, okay? Because the mind doesn't like a vacuum. You have to replace it. And I says, come on, give me a break. I mean, that's so simplistic, right? I'm a college graduate, for Pete's sake. He goes, oh, it worked for me. It worked for Evander. And he walks me over to Evander. He says, hey, Evander, does that rubber band thing work? He goes, yeah. That was my whole conversation with Evander Holyfield. Yeah. But so I finished my workout. I got me a little rubber band and I started doing it. It wasn't 20 minutes later. My bad habit back then, I called myself an idiot, right? All the time. But I wouldn't just call myself an idiot, right? No, I wanted to really drive it into my subconscious, right? So I do something stupid and I go, idiot, right? And then, pow, I'm not an idiot. I'm a winner. Over and over and over again. It didn't even take me a month, okay? 3 weeks later, that rubber band changed my life, okay? I had a big welt right here, right? Bruise, right? From doing it so many times. But it got to the point where I do something stupid and I go, I'm a winner. I nipped it in the bud, right? I took a bad habit and I made it a little bit of a better habit. And then I started noticing there's a lot of bad mouthing going on between my friends. And I didn't want to get any of that secondhand negative, right? You know, like secondhand smoke. I didn't want to get that secondhand. So I started hanging around a different group of friends and went back to what my dad always said. Who are you going to hang around with? Who you hang around with? 90% of success. I believe that with all my soul, because you pick up their habits. You pick up their habits, all right? You want to lose 10 pounds? Easiest diet in the world, okay? You hang around skinny people. Yeah, you hang around skinny people. You'll be riding bikes and walking places and eating salads. The weight's just going to come right off, right? And when you're going to hurt. Because
that's the easiest way. You're right. And
it is. No pills, no nothing, right? You're just becoming like a skinny person. But
hang around, Farah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ruben. Yeah. Incredible. I'm just thinking about so much of incredible shares in the room as well, for everyone who's waited here to share, you know. And if I'm of course going to invite you to share what you took back from this if you don't want to do that now, but you'll get an email from me with all the ways in which you can connect with Ruben and of course connect with me. Thank you, Ruben.